Howdy, this is Dr. Anatole, and today in this wonderful little forest I would like to talk about why so few people get self-realized and why there are so many unhappy people in various groups that promise self-realization and happiness, so-called paths to bliss, paths to happiness. This is a subject which is interesting to me. I am writing my third book on the subject, not on the subject why it doesn't work, but on the subject how to make it work. So I have a few thoughts to share. My thoughts are developing, so I cannot guarantee that these thoughts are perfect. Also, I'm not sure that it's even possible to have perfect thoughts on the subject. So I'll tell you a story. A few months ago, I went to a meditation group. They had chanting followed by meditation, followed by a talk by one of their ministers. And I rarely go to functions like that because usually I get this kind of experience, which I'll tell you in a second about. And this time I was surprised how many stuck people, how many unhappy people were there, how many lost people were there. And I understand that that kind of offering of a path to better health, happiness, etc., through some kind of techniques, what I call life coaching of some sort, is very appealing. This kind of stuff is very appealing to people who have unstable personality or are lost inside. So none of this was surprising on an intellectual level. Emotionally, it jarred me because a lot of people there were not young. Many of them have been on the path, that particular path, for many years. It reminded me of my time 25 years ago in California, where at that time I used to regularly go to another group where I encountered a lot of dogmatic thinking, a lot of assurances, self-congratulation about how powerful and amazing their guru was. But this was really done by people who were not really successful. And I don't really mean successful in a worldly sense. I don't care how much money they have and how good their jobs are. One of the people there had pretty good work. In fact, he was financing the whole thing. He had even an apartment in the right place in India, etc. So I've been thinking about this issue for upwards of 30 years. And I've talked about this issue a little bit in my previous couple videos. This has to do a lot with how cults get formed. When people encounter a group that offers a teaching that they feel would be useful to them, there is a rapid acceleration in their personal development. I will not call it spiritual development, but certainly personal development. They develop a new family, they get attached to a new ideology, they bask in new to them practices. It all sounds very interesting. And then a plateau happens. It has to do with how human ego functions. Human ego is very good at grabbing at all these ideologies and practices and chanting and using that for self-congratulation it usually expresses itself with thoughts like, oh my God, my guru is so great, or oh my God, my guru is God, oh my God, I'm on the right path, I'm going to really get somewhere. And this is, of course, the plot of the ego to make sure that you're not going to go very far, because you're gonna the ego will basically make you get stuck right there. If we apply a formula in the formal psychological test, the test of emotional maturity, the emotional maturity of those people, we will find that, well, it would be very interesting to see what you'll find. I'm guessing that you're not going to find a lot of emotional maturity there, because most of these people are trying to run away from themselves. Some are on a legitimate spiritual path, most probably not, but it sounds so great. I'm on the path, I belong here. It's like getting an instant family. At this point, I need to introduce another part of my thinking that already pretty much is in my second book, Abandoning Exile. The link is below in the description, not to the book but to my website. You can find this book if you like. The problem is with what spiritual path by definition is. We have our soul that is surrounded by thought forms, basically collections of thoughts that come from culture, they come from our chemistry, biology, genetics, our ego, our development, our experiences in childhood and in adulthood, usually young adulthood. And these thought forms, they define us. You can say that our human personality is a thought form. And spirituality is called spirituality because of this spirit. It has to do with opening up yourself to your soul, to your Atman, to your connection with God. Basically letting God speak through you. And you don't have to do very much for that, because God is already within you. All you need to do is shake up, lessen the thickness, as I say, the density of the thought forms that grow like cancer around your soul, your Atman. And here comes, of course, the problem. We get attached to these thought forms. What is this attachment? Well, actually, as individual human beings, we are thought forms. This attachment, this identification with our minds, with our personalities, with our culture, is what makes us human beings. This is what incarnation is about. It's like when we incarnate in the body, we get a collection of thought forms together with that body. And how to push these thought forms away from us? Well, it's both very easy and very hard. Most important thing is that thought forms, when they change, they usually morph. They don't go away. They don't reduce their density. In fact, usually they increase their density, because one of the best tricks that thought forms do on us is they make us believe that we are becoming less dense, but actually we become more dense because thought forms want to do this to us. And another thing that thought forms do is they frighten us, because anytime they even morph, we experience it as fear that our boundaries will get violated, as fear that our personality is going to be changed, or as fear that someone is going to attack us personally or our group. And this is where the difficulty is. One needs to have enough perception to recognize that this is what thought forms are doing to us. And that kind of subtlety cannot be achieved, from my experience, through spiritual practices. It can be achieved through a lot of pain, a lot of personal experience, and most of all through tremendous courage at being honest with oneself. Being courageous at stating things as they are. For example, if you are striving for self-realization and happiness, well, and you're not achieving it, why don't you ask why? And rather than spinning tales about it, attaching yourself to, I don't know, ideologies, philosophies, theologies, why not ask a question, what could I do to go beyond all this? And I'm not saying that it's easy, but to me it's the only way. You need to basically focus on the music and ask yourself, what can I do to reach what I actually want to reach? And part of it is, of course, stopping to talk nonsense, reducing the level of bullshit one is attached to. I hope this mini thought form diarrhea from me didn't disturb your mind that much. Actually, I hope it disturbed your mind a lot. Before I say goodbye, if you've listened this far and haven't subscribed to this new and improved channel, do so. It supports me. Not financially. I don't expect anything financial from this thing at all. If it happens, I'll be surprised more than if right now God is going to strike me by lightning and I transform myself into, I don't know, something, a turd. One last thing. I do believe in a rigorous pursuit of truth. A rigorous pursuit of truth is what's called it's part of the scientific method. It shouldn't be really that hard to figure out with modern technologies what works and what doesn't, and have an honest look at what's really going on. Of course, unless one doesn't want to have a look at that. And I've seen these stories again and again when you have a situation where members of some community do not really want to question their values, because they actually prefer to be stuck rather than to achieve the goals that they preach they hope to achieve. As you probably know, spiritual path is not something new. There are a million of scriptures written on the subject. There are a million books written about it. If I write another book, it's not going to be anything particularly new. It's going to be just a new take on the subject, a la El Doctore Anatole, or whichever way you pronounce it in some language or another. So the issues I've raised in this video are also not new. They are in the scriptures, if that's you really care about, to read about that. What I think would be better is, scripture or no scripture, book or no book, one would take a very honest look at what one is trying to achieve, what actually works and doesn't, so that someone like me doesn't have to meet someone who meditated for 50 years and achieved only hardening of the dogma, because it's such a waste. You have a good one. We will talk more, maybe. I'm gonna go and explore why there's all these voices in the forest. Maybe there is some hidden werewolf trying to express itself in some kind of werewolfy ways. You all have a good one. Bye.